Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good evening, everyone. Namaste and happy birthday. It is the Master's 187th birthday. We just decided. He was born at this time in 1836, according to the lunar calendar. And so it is 187th birth anniversary. So we are, of course, reading his gospel. That's what we've taken up on Tuesday evenings. The gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, as delivered to us by Mahendranath Gupta, known in the gospel as M. And so we're reading, Haima, our beloved reader, is reading from the PDF, which contains some text that is not in the book itself. So is there any comment or question that is left over from last week, or anything else that you'd just like to bring up about the Master, his birthday, anything at all? Triguna was telling us that they celebrated it with great éclat in India, of course. Yes, the celebration at Bellarmine attracts thousands and thousands of people. They have to cook for a long time to feed all those people some prasad at Bellarmine, and I'm sure that's true of the other centers as well. So again, happy birthday. May the Master smile on you. May he look on you lovingly as a father. May he support and nourish you as a father. So if there's nothing else from anyone, we'll ask Haima to begin. All right, Haima, please go ahead.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. Namaste and good evening, everyone. We are on PDF page 8, from the top of the page in the middle, first paragraph. I'm going to start there. So after Ramakrishna's passing away, while several of the Master's householder devotees considered the young sannyasin disciples of the Master as inexperienced and inconsequential, M stood by them with the firm faith that the Master's life and message were going to be perpetuated only through them. Swami Vivekananda wrote from America in a letter to the inmates of the Mutt. When Sri Thakur, Master, left the body, everyone gave us up as a few unripe urchins. But M and a few others did not leave us in the lurch. We cannot repay our debt to them. This is from Prabuddha Bharata magazine. M spent his weekends and holidays with the monastic brethren who, after the Master's demise, had formed themselves into an order with a mutt at Baranagore and participated in the intense life of devotion and meditation that they followed. At other times, he would retire to Dakshineshwar or some garden in the city and spend several days in spiritual practice, taking simple self-cooked food. In order to feel that he was one with all mankind, he often used to go out of his home at dead of night and, like a wandering sannyasin, sleep with the waves on some open veranda or footpath on the road. After the master's demise, M went on pilgrimage several times. He visited Banaras, Vrindavan, Ayodhya, and other places. At Banaras, he visited the famous Trilinga Swami and fed him with sweets.
Trilanga Swami.
Trilanga Swami.
Yes, this great soul who resided in silence. He taught in silence. People came to him. They would bring their questions. Of course, he didn't answer them in verbally, but they would go away feeling not only that their questions had been answered, but their problems had been resolved. The master visited Trilanga Swami when he went to Varanasi and revered him greatly. Trilanga Swami was quite a great soul. As I say, he taught in silence. He ate very little, apparently slept hardly at all, and just sat in silence at a ghat in Benares, Varanasi.
I'll read that sentence again, Brother Shankara. At Banaras, he visited the famous Trilanga Swami and fed him with sweets, and he had long conversations with Swami Bhaskarananda, one of the noted saintly and scholarly sannyasins of the time. In 1912, he went with the Holy Mother to Banaras and spent about a year in the company of sannyasins at Banaras, Vrindavan, Hardwar, Rishikesh, and Swargashram. But he returned to Calcutta as that city offered him the unique opportunity of associating himself with the places hallowed by the master in his lifetime. Afterwards, he does not seem to have gone to any far-off place, but stayed on in his room in the Morton School, carrying on his spiritual ministry, speaking on the master and his teachings to the large number of people who flocked to him after having read his famous Kathamrita, known to English readers as the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This brings us to the circumstances that led to the writing and publication of this monumental work, which has made M one of the immortals in hagiographic literature. While many educated people heard Sri Ramakrishna's talks, it was given to this illustrious personage alone to leave a graphic and exact amount of them for posterity, with the details like date, hour, place, names, and particulars about participants. Humanity owes this great book to the ingrained habit of diary keeping with which M was endowed. Even as a boy of about 13, while he was a student in the 3rd class of the Hare School, he was in the habit of keeping a diary. Today on rising, he wrote in his diary, "I greeted my father and mother, prostrating on the ground before them." Swami Nityatmananda's M, the Apostle and the Evangelist, Part 1, page 29. At another place, he wrote, "Today, while on my way to school, I visited, as usual, the temples of Kali, the mother at Tharitariya, and of Mother Sitala, and paid my obeisance to them." About 25 years after, when he met the great master in the spring of 1882, it was the same instinct of a born diary writer that made him begin his book, unique in the literature of hagiography, with the memorable words as follows: "When hearing the name of Hari or Rama once, you shed tears and your hair stands on end. Then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform devotion such as Sandhya anymore."
This was the opening remarks of Sri Ramakrishna to M. And so repeat that, please, because it is a very important piece of instruction from the Master about the state that we should pray to attain.
About 25 years after, when he met the great master in the spring of 1882, it was the same instinct of a born diary writer that made him begin his book, unique in the literature of hagiography. Is that the correct way to pronounce, Brother Shankara?
Hagiography.
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 Unique in the literature of hagiography, with the memorable words: "When hearing the name of Hari or Rama once, you shed tears and your hair stands on end. Then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform devotions such as Sandhya anymore."
So this is the state devoutly to be prayed for and desired. That as soon as you hear the name of the Lord, and the Master mentions Hari, which is of course Krishna, and Rama, but it doesn't matter where your heart resides and what form of the divine would cause this reaction in you, whether it be Christ or whether it be, as it was for Sri Ramakrishna, Kali, or some other divine feminine form. When you hear that name and it calls forth from you the response that has become ingrained because of your spiritual practice, then you know you don't have to do any rites or rituals anymore. That's what's meant by Sandhya. You don't have to do any puja. You don't have to do any arati. You don't have to. You may simply out of love and devotion, but it is no longer required. In other words, your spiritual practices have borne their fruits, the four fruits of life. And so you are now in a state that will result in your liberation from further rebirth and death. Any comments or questions from anyone about anything that Haima read or that was just said? Anything at all from anyone? All right, dear, please read on.
In addition to this instinct for diary keeping, M had great endowments contributing to success in this line. Writes Swami Nityananda, who lived in close association with M, in his book entitled M, the Apostle and Evangelist. He said as follows: M's prodigious memory combined with his extraordinary power of imagination completely annihilated the distance of time and place for him. Even after the lapse of half a century, he could always visualize vividly scenes from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Superb too was his power to portray pictures by words. Besides the promoting of his inherent instinct, the main inducement for M to keep this diary of his experiences at Dakshineshwar was his desire to provide himself with a means for living in holy company all times. Being a school teacher, he could be with the master only on Sundays and other holidays, and it was on his diary that he depended for holy company on other days. The devotional scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita say that holy company is the first and most important means for the generation and growth of devotion.
Why is that so? Why is holy company so important? We are in holy company as we sit here this evening, and we're the people are present in our awareness, in our consciousness, even though they may be distant in time and space. But the reason that holy company is so important is because it makes tangible the fruits of spiritual practice. It lets us know this is what happens when particularly if you're in the company of the Swamis, but this too, these 9 screens that are here, this is holy company. We prove that by our devotion coming to this class. So don't sell yourself short in any way that there's something that it's not a matter of something to be attained. It is something to be revealed. Well, in the company of those who have practiced long, and particularly those who have practiced daily for years, one feels this tangible presence of the divine. Swami Prabhavananda, my teacher, used to say, it is as if they're holding out a fruit, an apple or a mango, in the palm of their hand and saying, here, take. It's that real to you. That's the reason for the importance of holy company. And this is why M himself became such holy company, because he did do these practices and was with the master and was the master's instrument. And he was much sought after. His presence can still be found in his the rooms where he lived in Kolkata. I mean, you feel his presence there. So this is why holy company is so very important, and why Sri Krishna, of course, stresses it, as did Sri Ramakrishna. Any other comments or questions or concerns while we're paused? All right, dear, please read that sentence again. And
I will, Brother Shankara. The devotional scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita say that holy company is the first and most important means for the generation and growth of devotion. For in such company, man could hear talks on spiritual matters and listen to the glorification of divine attributes, charged with the fervor and conviction emanating from the hearts of great lovers of God. Such company is therefore the one certain means through which Shraddha, faith, Rati, attachment to God, and Bhakti, loving devotion, are generated. I'll read one more time this sentence. For in such company, man could hear talks on spiritual matters and listen to the glorification of divine attributes, charged with the fervor and conviction emanating from the hearts of great lovers of God. Such company is therefore the one certain means through which Shraddha means faith, Rati means attachment to God, and Bhakti means loving devotion are generated.
Let me just stop for a moment.
Sure.
Shraddha means more than faith. Shraddha is the product of spiritual practice, long spiritual practice. And what it means is courage, determination, and conviction. The determination and courage are dependent on the conviction. The conviction comes from the empirical experience, the actual conscious awareness experience of the divine presence that comes through spiritual practice. This is what generates Shraddha, and it is one of the hallmarks. That and humility are two of the hallmarks of the great devotee, and certainly M embodied these two things. So, while we're paused, anything else from anyone? All right, dear, please go ahead.
The diary of his visits to Dakshineshwar provided M with material for reliving through reading and contemplation the holy company he had had earlier, even on days when he was not able to visit Dakshineshwar. The wealth of details and the vivid description of men and things in the midst of which the sublime conversations are set provide excellent material to relive those experiences for anyone with imaginative powers. It was observed by M's disciples and admirers that in later life, also whenever he was free or alone, he would be poring over his diary, transporting himself on the wings of imagination to the glorious days he spent at the feet of the Master. During the Master's lifetime, M does not seem to have revealed the contents of his diary to anyone. There is an unconfirmed tradition that when the Master saw him taking notes, he expressed apprehension at the possibility of his utilizing these to publicize him like Keshav Sen. For the great Master was so full of the spirit of renunciation and humility that he disliked being lionized. It must be for this reason that no one knew about this precious diary of M for a decade until he brought out selections from it as a pamphlet in English in 1897 with the Holy Mother's blessings and permission. The Holy Mother, being very much pleased to hear parts of the diary read to her in Bengali, wrote to M, "When I heard the Kathamrita, Bengali name of the book, I felt as if it was he, the Master, who was saying all that." The two pamphlets in English entitled The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna appeared in October and November 1897. They drew the spontaneous acclamation of Swami Vivekananda, who wrote on 24th November of that year from Dehradun to M as follows. "Many, many thanks for your second leaflet. It is indeed wonderful. The move is quite original, and never was the life of a great teacher brought before the public untarnished by the writer's mind as you are doing. The language also is beyond all praise, so fresh, so pointed, and withal so plain and easy. I cannot express in adequate terms how I have enjoyed them. I really in a transport when I read them. Strange, isn't it? Our teacher and Lord was so original, and each one of us will have to be original or nothing. I now understand why none of us attempted his life before. It has been reserved for you, this great work. He is with you, evidently. Close the quote.
Okay, I'll just interrupt just to say that
Sure.
I'm betting. Of course, this museum didn't exist when I visited India in 1999. Swami Prabhananda who was then head of the Institute of Culture, the Ramakrishna Institute of Culture in Gold Park, was planning it. But I'll bet you that there are copies of these two so-called leaflets. They're probably more like small booklets. I've never seen one, so I don't know. But I'll bet you that they are there in that museum. I'm sure that Prabhupada has managed to round copies of them up and put them in that museum. I recommend to any of you who go to India, go to Belramat and visit this wonderful museum, as well as all of the other holy places associated with the Master and Holy Mother Sri Ramakrishna. I mean, and of course Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Vivekananda, and Raja Maharaj. But anyway, you can tell that there's just a little yearning in this heart to actually see those pamphlets myself. If anyone knows how and where a photograph of one could be obtained, well, then please do that and forward me a copy. That would just be a kindness.
Brother Shankara, namaste.
Namaste.
I visited the museum of Sri Ramakrishna. It's like 3 floors. And it's amazing. It's got they have made different sections for different time zones and timelines, and it's amazing. It's got everything. It's you feel like it's one of those museums you see in the DC, Washington DC, where there are multiple stories. However, there is a very strict protocol that you cannot take any of your phones or I think, and so I don't know if they can allow you to take. As far as I know, I didn't take any photographs.
No, I'm sure they have because they don't want people to sell what they photograph there.
Yeah, or it's there are 2 reasons. I think that's what they tell is that one is that it distracts them, obviously, and it distracts others also, because people will take selfie and stand there and whatnot. And second,
yes.
Yeah, and so the basic spirit is just gone, because it's anyway our mind is so distracted with another adding of photograph is that. And the second thing is that with the location and everything with details, someone can come and steal that. And I don't know. I'll go through my photographs and see if I have anything. And
Well, I didn't expect that someone would go to the trouble to go to the museum and photograph it. I'd forgotten that there was this protocol. You're right. But in any event, it's just this little, we have these little desires to see something that represents the Master's life and M's life, because he was such a powerful. There's a portrait of him painted by Swami Tadatmananda in the living room of the Vedanta Society of Southern California, the greenhouse living room. And that, if you just sit in front of that photograph, you feel the power of the man, because Tadatmananda was able to, this great monk who was a painter, an artist who was the head of the Trabuco Monastery for many years, he had that ability to capture the spirit of these ones. So if you're ever in Hollywood, be sure and go in the greenhouse living room. There's a number of portraits there. There's a wonderful portrait of Brahmananda also. But the painting of M is very powerful. Anything else from anyone while we're paused? Thank you, Shailesh. All right, dears, please let's read on.
And Swamiji, that is Swami Vivekananda, added a postscript to the letter as follows, within the quotes: Socratic dialogues or Plato all over you are entirely hidden. Moreover, the dramatic part is infinitely beautiful. Everybody likes it here or in the West. Within quotes finished. Indeed, in order to be unknown, Mahendranath had used the pen name M, under which the book has been appearing till now. But so great a book cannot remain obscure for long, nor can its author remain unrecognized by the large public in these modern times. M and his book came to be widely known very soon, and to meet the growing demand, a full-sized book, Volume 1 of the Gospel, translated by the author himself, was published in 1907 by the Brahmavadin office, Madras, which is called Chennai now. A second edition of it, revised by the author, was brought out by the Ramakrishna Math, Madras, in December 1911, and subsequently a second part containing new chapters from the original Bengali was published by the same Math in 1922. The full English translation of the Gospel by Swami Nikhilananda appeared first in 1942. In Bengali, the book is published in 5 volumes, the first part having appeared in 1902, and the others in 1905, 1907, 1910, and 1932, respectively. It looks as if M was brought to the world by the great master to record his words and transmit them to posterity. Swami Shivananda, a direct disciple of the master and the second president of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, says on this topic as follows: whenever there was an interesting talk, the master would call Master Mahashe if he was not in the room, and then draw his attention to the holy words spoken. We did not know then why the master did so. Now we can realize that this action of the master had an important significance, for it was reserved for Master Mahashe to give to the world at large the sayings of the master. End quotes. Thanks to M, we get, unlike in the case of the great teachers of the past, a faithful record with date, time, exact report of conversations, description of concerned men and places, references to contemporary events and personalities, and 100 other details for the last 4 years of the master's life, that is 1882 to 1886, so that no one can doubt the historicity of the master and his teachings at any time in the future. M was, in every respect, a true missionary of Sri Ramakrishna, right from his first acquaintance with him in 1882. As a school teacher, it was a practice with him to direct to the master such of his students as had a true spiritual disposition. Though himself prohibited by the master to take to monastic life, he encouraged all spiritually inclined young men he came across in his later life to join the monastic order. Swami Vijnanananda, a direct sannyasin disciple of the master, and the president of the Ramakrishna order, once remarked to M as follows, within the quotes, by inquiry, I have come to the conclusion that 80% and more of the sannyasins have embraced the monastic life after reading the Kathamrita, Bengali name of the book, and coming in contact with you. This is from M. the Apostle and the Evangelist by Swami Nityatmananda, Part 1. In 1905, he retired from the active life of a professor and devoted his remaining 27 years exclusively to the preaching of the life and message of the great master. He bought the Morton Institution from its original proprietors and shifted it to a commodious 4-storied house at 50 Amherst Street, where it flourished under his management as one of the most efficient educational institutions in Calcutta. He generally occupied a staircase room at the top of it, cooking his own meal, which consisted only of milk and rice without variation, and attended to all his personal needs himself. His dress also was the simplest possible. It was his conviction that limitation of personal wants to the minimum is an important aid to holy living. About 1 hour in the morning, he would spend in inspecting the classes of the school and then retired to his staircase room to pore over his diary and live in the divine atmosphere of the earthly days of the great master, unless devotees and admirers had already gathered in his room seeking his holy company. In appearance, M looked a Vedic rishi, tall.
He did indeed. This is with that painting that I mentioned. Will give you a notion of what I mean. You can find copies of that painting online. Swami Tadatmananda's. There's a website devoted to Tadatmananda. So if you want to see an image of that, as this Vedic rishi, that Vedic rishi appearance, you can do that. So yes, he did indeed look like a Vedic rishi. Just he had that that aura about him. Anything else from anyone while we're paused? All right, dears.
In appearance, M looked a Vedic rishi, tall and stately in bearing. He had a strong and well-built body, an unusually broad chest, high forehead, and arms extending to the knees. His complexion was fair, and his prominent eyes were always tinged with the expression of the divine love that filled his heart.
Charged, I think it says charged rather than changed, dear.
Tinged, it says always tinged with the tinged, yes.
I misunderstood you.
Okay, that's okay. I'll read that sentence again. His complexion was fair, and his prominent eyes were always tinged with the expression of the divine love that filled his heart. Adorned with a silvery beard that flowed luxuriantly down his chest, and a shining face radiating the serenity and gravity of holiness, M was as imposing and majestic as he was handsome and engaging in appearance.
Now imagine this in the British Raj, India. The head of this school doesn't comport himself in any way according to the norms and protocols of the Raj. He looks like a Vedic rishi. He eats like a Vedic rishi. Milk and rice, period. He dresses simply, and he presides over one of the most successful schools in all of the Raj's Calcutta. But no tinge of the Raj was there. He simply abjured it. He simply ignored it, left it to the side, and as was noted earlier, any young person, they were all young men in this school, any young man who showed an inclination towards spiritual yearnings, M would encourage to think in terms of becoming a monk and joining the Ramakrishna order. And he's one of the reasons that the Ramakrishna order came by so many very talented, very intelligent young men, and was able to expand under Raja Maharaja's leadership so quickly, because there were many, many of these brilliant and strongly spiritually inclined young men being fed, so to speak, through this wonderful instrumentality of M. Mahendranath Gupta's school and his council. So this we can see what a gem the master had fashioned. As the master did say this, and it'll come to our attention at some point as we read along in the gospel, that the master did say, when asked about him, he said, "Oh yes, he is my instrument." And it's clear that he fashioned him like a skilled surgeon would commission or fashion a particular instrument for a particular purpose. Well, Sri Ramakrishna created this man who was not only a great diarist and with this prodigious memory, but also had a very poetic temperament, as we'll see. It was spoken of earlier in what Haima read as his imagination. It was more than imagination. It was the ability to assimilate the atmosphere of a particular situation and place, and then relate it to us in terms that allow us to share that experience. And this is a capability only of a poet. This is whether it's put in poetic verse or meter or any of that. No. Poetry is how you speak of things, how you relate to things, and the ability to communicate them to others in their wonder and in their beauty. And this is the poetry of M's. He will describe, for example, if you start on page 132 of the Gospel, the book, and read about the Master's visit with Keshab Sen and Keshab's Brahmo devotees, his followers. Keshab had arranged for a steamer trip on the Ganges for the Master to be with and speak with his followers. And M describes it so beautifully from his description of where Sri Ramakrishna left from at Dakshineshwar, is going to this steamer, and then what the steamer was like and what it was like to be on the steamer. M, of course, was there. It's just you can be in that stateroom, so to speak, with the master and those Brahmo devotees because of M's great skill. So this will all become known to each of us as we read along with Haima, as we hear what she reads. Anything else from anyone? Well, I've got us stopped.
This book is like we're walking along with them. Almost we feel like we're walking next to them, Brother Shankara. That's how wonderfully it's written, because I'm already on 250 pages because I've been reading for some time.
Yes.
So I'm reading now for you, and I'm also reading for Boulder. So this is my third reading with the gospel. I love it, every bit of it.
Well,
So
one becomes, so to speak, addicted to the gospel. Swami Swahananda, the second teacher, this great teacher in my life, Vijnananda's disciple, Swami Swahananda, he routinely read 2 pages of the gospel in the morning and 2 pages in the evening. Or when his vision began to fail him at the end of his life, he had these pages read to him. And so it is
very descriptive, and you feel like you're walking with them. Yes. Along with the pages.
Well, that's exactly why.
Like next to them, you're walking along with them.
That's why Swahananda would want this read, because he would feel in the presence of the master and those other young people and young women and men that were part of the master's life. Anything else while we're paused? All right, dear, please read on.
Humorous, sweet-tongued, and eloquent when situations required, this great Maharishi of our age lived only to sing the glory of Sri Ramakrishna day and night. Though a very well-versed scholar in the Upanishads, Gita, and the philosophies of the East and the West, all his discussions and teachings found their culmination in the life and the message of Sri Ramakrishna, in which he found the real explanation and illustration of all the scriptures. Both consciously and unconsciously, he was the teacher of the Kathamrita, the nectarine words of the great master. Though a much sought after spiritual guide, an educationist of repute, and a contemporary and close associate of illustrious personages like Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, Keshab Chandra Sen, and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he was always moved by the noble humanity of a lover of God, which consists in respecting the personalities of all as receptacles of the divine spirit. So he taught without the consciousness of a teacher, and no bar of superiority stood in the way of his doing the humblest service to his students and devotees. He was a commission of love, writes his close devotee, Swami Raghavananda, and yet his soft and sweet words would pierce the stoniest heart, make the worldly minded weep, and repent and turn Godwards. This is from Prabuddha Bharati, Volume 1.
You can see that this man is being described as a genuine saint.
As time went on and the number of devotees increased, the staircase room and terrace of the 3rd floor of the Morton Institution became a veritable Naimisaranya of modern times, resounding during all hours of the day and sometimes of night too, with the word of God coming from the rishi-like face of M, addressed to the eager God seekers sitting around. To the devotees, he helped him in preparing the text of the gospel. He would dictate the conversations of the master in a meditative mood, referring now and then to his diary. At times, in the stillness of midnight, he would awaken a nearby devotee and tell him, "Let us listen to the words of the master in the depths of the night as he explains the truth of the pranava." That is from Vedanta Kesari. Swami Raghavananda, an intimate devotee of M, writes as follows about these devotional sittings. In the sweet and warm months of April and May, sitting under the canopy of heaven on the roof garden of 50 Amherst Street, surrounded by shrubs and plants, himself sitting in their midst like a rishi of old, the stars and planets in their courses, beckoning us to things infinite and sublime, he would speak to us of the mysteries of God and his love, and of the yearning that would rise in the human heart to solve the eternal riddle as exemplified in the life of his master. The mind melting under the influence of his soft, sweet words of light would almost transcend the frontiers of limited existence and dare to peep into the infinite. He himself would take the influence of the setting and say, "What a blessed privilege it is to sit in such a setting," point to the starry heavens, in the company of the devotees, discoursing on God and his love. These unforgettable scenes will long remain imprinted on the minds of his hearers. End quotes. About 27 years of his life, he spent in this way in the heart of the great city of Calcutta, radiating the master's thoughts and ideals to countless devotees who flocked to him, and to still larger numbers who read his Kathamrita. English edition is The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the last part of which he had completed before June 1932 and given to the press.
Now, this 27 years, he died in 1932. Just imagine. He lived well into the 20th century. And so, as Swami Vivekananda said, these great souls inflect what Carl Jung called the unconscious, the collective unconscious. These great souls inflect the what is being felt through the collective unconscious. We're feeling it now from his presence. And because, as Swami Vivekananda also said, where do these great souls go? Where would they go? They are with us now. But nevertheless, how much more powerfully it must have been felt when the man himself was still alive. And so we're so very grateful that he lived so long into this century. Holy Mother lived until 1920, Brahmananda till 1922, M until 1932. These were all, so the Master's influence. We're celebrating his 187th birthday today. So the Master has now been with us in this physical and now subtle form for 187 years. But his influence and his minstrels, his band of minstrels, as he called them, lived well on into the 20th century. And these were the direct disciples. Direct disciples. What a gift this is to us.
It sure is.
Anything else from anyone? We're coming to a close here. How much is there to read?
This paragraph has about 10 lines, and then we can close there. Then it will be introduction, Brother Shankara, next time.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
An introduction is part of the book.
Yes, that will be next week. We can start introduction.
Okay.
I just have a little bit more to finish this paragraph.
Please read the 10 lines. Yes.
Okay. And miraculously, as it were, his end also came immediately after he had completed his life's mission. Wow. About 3 months earlier, he had come to stay at his home at 13/2 Gurdas Prasad Chowdhury Lane at Thakur Bari, where the Holy Mother had herself installed the master and where his regular worship was being conducted for the previous 40 years. The night of 3rd June being the Palaharini Kali Puja Day, M had sent his devotees who used to keep company with him to attend the special worship at Belur Math at night. After attending the service at the home shrine, he went through the proof of the Kathamrita for an hour. Suddenly, he got a severe attack of neuralgic pain from which he had been suffering now and then of late. Before 6 a.m. in the early hours of 4th June, 1932, he passed away, fully conscious and chanting, Gurudeva Ma, Pol Chuo Nao, take me in your arms, O Master, O Mother. That's the end of this. And this was given to us by Swami Tapasyananda, Sri Ramakrishna Math, Madras, March 1974. That's what it says.
And what was it he was chanting in full consciousness right at the end? Please repeat that.
I will repeat. Before 6 a.m. in the early hours of 4th June 1932, he passed away, fully conscious and chanting as follows, Gurudeva Ma, Pol Chuo Nao. That means, take me in your arms, O Master, O Mother.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Yes, indeed. And this is something that is given to the spiritual aspirant who practices regularly, and that is this leaving the body in full consciousness. Mm. Mm. So let us all resolve to keep our spiritual practice sustained and regular, and abide by that resolve, our vow, so to speak, because the benefits of doing so are so very, very great. And you won't know what they are until you do it. The reason being that each one of us is a unique spark of the divine fire. And what will unfold and evolve for you will be your very own, though it will have common features with those of others. It will be your very own. And in that, it is such a delight to do your spiritual practice. As Sri Krishna says in the Gita, sour toil at first, then nectar, amrita. then Amrita, then nectar, the sweetness of the divine presence. So this is the promise of the Gita. It is the promise of Lord Jesus Christ. It is the promise of all the great teachers that if you persist in your spiritual practice, that you will unfold something unique and truly delightful in your own awareness and in your life. Balakrishna ji, I see you're with us. Are you home or are you still in India?
Oh, Swami, I am just next door to you.
Oh, welcome back.
Very good. So glad to see your face.
Welcome back.
Welcome back and happy birthday. Happy birthday. All right. Anything else from anyone before we close?
I have 2 points just to share.
Please.
One is Em said, Gurudeva and Ma, take me in your arms, which means that both of them appeared to him at the last moment, which is very rare. If you read God lived with them and they lived with God, both of these books, it talks about what happened to all the lay disciples and also direct disciples at the end. And very rarely you will see that both of them were there. And so that's amazing. Second thing is something very, very inspirational, which struck me is that he lived in that small place or in Calcutta for almost 40 years, 25 plus, and then almost that many years, and never had a desire to travel, to go somewhere else. And just staying in that one particular place and doing that spiritual practice, whatever he was, which is writing the book and also meeting the devotees and other, visiting Belur Math. Because what I sometimes think is that I've been, we all are in similar situation where we stay in one place and we do our spiritual practice day after day in a small place, or, for whatever reason we cannot travel or we don't travel much. And it's a small room or a small house or whatever. And I'm in my shrine room right now. I just actually made prasad and offered to Thakur. So I had turned off the video, but this is my place, this is my world. And I think it's so inspirational to just do the basics, and not have too many desires to travel here and there and look here and there. And it's just something to learn.
Yes, indeed. Very much agreed on both points, Shailesh. Thank you for bringing those to us. Anything else from anyone before we close? Okay. Om Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless deception to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through, light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, 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 and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe, may we be healthy, may we be cheerful, may we have peace of mind, and may we be always, and know we are always, in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Hari Om Tat Sat. Oh, dearly beloved, make it so. So, until tomorrow evening, for those of you who wish to join us and read and discuss the Gita, or this coming Saturday when we'll discuss the workbook on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras called How to Know God, or this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. when we will celebrate the Master's birthday with a short talk on the Master and then a puja conducted by Aditya Chaturvedi. Any comments or questions from anyone? All right, dear ones, it goes on, it goes on. Let us have our regular practice, which develops Shraddha, and then there is that, where we began this evening, when with the dawn of Shraddha comes this state where something thrills within you when you hear the very name of the Lord, the Divine Being in masculine or feminine form. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, happy birthday, Master. Until tomorrow evening, good night.